Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Elite Golf Podcast. As always, I'm Jesse Coffman, Golf Course at Champion Circle. I've got Matt Christian here from Elite Golf Performance, and our special guest today is someone that can make my job really good or really bad. He holds my whole life in his hands. Luckily, he's very good at what he does, keeps all the golfers happy on the course, and does a tremendous job. This is Brad Hines, our superintendent here at the golf course, and Brad, appreciate you taking time to stop by and talk to us.
Thanks, Jesse. Yep.
Yeah, and today we've got so much going on at the golf course right now, so many new projects and different things that we're working on and have done over the past year. We just wanted to bring you on and just kind of talk about some of those things and the processes that we've been through and some of the things we have going on in the future. So first, just to kind of give them, if you don't mind, kind of give us a little bit about your background, where you've been in the past and how you got here.
I guess I've been in the business now 36 years. I started in Colorado. Funny thing is I wanted to build houses, and my mother said, why don't you go work at the golf course where your two brothers had worked? So I took her advice, which I guess I don't do often, but first golf course I worked at was Cherry Hills Country Club, and just joined on the grounds crew and really enjoyed it a lot. We had a change of superintendent at the time as we were going to host the 85 PGA Championship. So that was my first experience in a PGA event. I was just moved into doing the irrigation for the golf course, and we got through that tournament in 85. And then several of us from Cherry Hills moved on down to Castle Pines Country Club.
Oh, yeah.
The golf club at Castle Pines, as we were preparing for the PGA events that they held there.
That was a point system, I believe.
Yeah,
wasn't
Stableford scoring
Yeah.
system. That was the only
one.
golf course that used that scoring system. So I was there at Castle Pines for 5 years. During that time, I decided this was going to be my profession, and everybody that I was working with had all gone to Penn State. So I said, well, if I'm going to pursue this as a career, I better get my education behind me. So I headed on to Penn State, and this would have been in 87. Went through their 2-year program, came back, and fortunate enough, through the people I knew and everybody that I worked with, my first superintendent's position was at Pebble Beach, and I went there in 1990 as we were preparing for the 92 U.S. Open. So through some good friends and hopefully a little bit of my talent, I got a great gig as taking on a U.S. Open. So
Not a bad way to start.
Pebble Beach is one of the coolest golf courses I've ever seen on TV, and like to know a little bit more about it. As far as maybe you can go into some details as far as what your experience was there. I think Kite won in '93. Tom Kite is
in '92, correct?
It was 2, right?
92.
That's the year you worked on it.
Yes.
He probably would be a good friend of yours then.
Well, I did have him sign one of the flags for me. So
it was '92. I always got them confused.
Yeah,
they
graduated. They had the 72, 82, 92, and then they started getting off of the 10-year rotation. So then
wow.
they did. Tiger Woods had his big win there.
Yeah.
2000.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
Blow away.
But as far as that position, it was nonstop from the day we got on board until the tournament came to a close. We re-leveled every tee on the property. We gassed and fumigated all the fairways. Pebble Beach had a grass called kikuyu grass, which came from Africa. It was a stabilizing grass that they used on the coastal states to kind of keep lands from shifting and falling into the ocean, but it was a very aggressive grass, and it was one that the USGA said they would not play a U.S. Open on that type grass. So we went through a lengthy program of removing that grass off that property.
Wow.
So, but a funny story is everybody knows the famous number 7 at Pebble Beach, the downhill par 3.
Absolutely.
We rebuilt that one mainly because of over the years, the elevation of the green, the slope of the green had changed through bunker shots and the wind, and so we wanted to come back in and make that a leveler green with more puttable surface for the golfers. So
wow. I remember those conditions when Kite won. It was funny you say 7 because that's when he hit it with the back. I believe it was in the back of the green. It was a weird shot, but he was in a horrible situation where he was at, and he hits it, and it was definitely going over the green. Hits the flag, goes in.
I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah,
I
and
remember
that
the video.
was
I was
that same
playing.
tournament. That golf course played two totally different ways. In the first 2 days, Dr. Gil Morgan was leading that, and his first guy to ever get to 10 under in 2 days.
Yeah, we felt embarrassed that our golf course was, let somebody get to double figure.
He was playing out of his mind, and he ended up, I think, even over par. I mean, it came right back to the number. I mean, it was
What had happened is the weather conditions changed.
it went crazy. That dried out like it was two totally different.
First
golf
3
courses.
days it was cloudy and overcast and wet and conditions. And on that Sunday, the wind kicked up, the sun came out and just dried the greens out, and they were honestly rolling probably a 15 on the stimp meter. So.
Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. You get downwind, and you could see it even in putts, versus like just a chip. I mean, much less that. And the ground conditions were, like you said, so soft coming in. So you give those pros an iron to hit in, just about any iron with those guys, and they fly it in there and they stick it. Their numbers are so tight that they're good. But when it bounces on them, they don't really know what's happening after that because of the surface conditions. It plays tricks on those boys.
Yeah.
Big time.
You get a green rolling that fast with that kind of wind. To me, putting is the hardest.
Oh yeah,
that's where it gets them the most. You see in the British Open a lot, where they can't putt. They can hit the shots, but then they can't putt.
You see their stance about this wide, trying to lock in, which is probably a good little tip, but get a little bit wider and firmer because it'll blow you all over there. The way he's playing on that Sunday was just incredible.
Yeah. I remember we were standing on the fourth green, and I was with the president of operations, and Jack Nicklaus was coming off the fourth green. This is on that Sunday. He turned and looked at us, and he goes, "You guys are in trouble." And he just meant that the conditions have changed so much that there's going to be some people complaining about it.
Yeah. It started to dry out maybe like that Saturday afternoon. Is that right? It started to come out of it a little bit, maybe that night.
I didn't hear many concerns about it on Saturday, but it's just Sunday morning. It was clear sky, which in the summer at Pebble Beach you don't very rarely have clear days in the summer. They're all foggy and overcast. So, but that wind picked up and it really dried it out.
Yeah, I remember it. It was one heck of a day.
Yeah.
But that's what a U.S. Open should be, I think. And they play some of these courses, and of course, sometimes weather just beats you. Like was it Congressional or Roy McIlroy? He won it legit, but the ball was just anything he hit was just sticking in the fairway, sticking on the greens, and and it's not a real. It's a real U.S. Open win, deserved every bit of it, but it's not like I think most course superintendents would want it to set up for the USGA.
Yeah.
What about the US? Do you want to ask him that question?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask. With
course setup?
Of course, working a major, I'm sure it's to the extreme, so I'll ask it that way. When you're working at a course that has the regular PGA event versus a major, what's the difference as far as how they come, the USGA or the committee with that tournament comes in and basically controls everything?
They do, and it's basically the same for both. They've got their head agronomist that shows up. I think for a major like the U.S. Open, they showed up a little bit earlier. He was there for a solid 2 weeks, but prior to that too, he was making visits every month, every 2 months. I mean, he would be there on a regular basis. But as we got closer to the event, he was there nonstop for 2 weeks, looking at us mow the greens, taking stimp meter readings on the greens, checking the depth of the rough, watching us rake bunkers, and not a whole lot different compared to what the PGA does. So I think there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, they got the same players playing in either a major or on a PGA event.
So did he have the final say as far as course setup?
They would not say so.
Okay.
But we felt like we were under their control.
Right.
I mean,
that makes sense.
And there were some issues that popped up afterwards, and a lot of people were concerned about the condition of the course after the event because the greens, being Poa-annua greens and mowing them down and rolling them as much as we did, they struggled to come back after the event. So there was a lot of finger pointing as who was actually making the calls. And of course, when you have somebody coming into your property and basically running the show, you feel like they're whatever they say you need to do. So,
Sure.
Honestly, I've seen it change over the years. I've seen superintendents kind of take maybe some of that power back and do what they want to do, and
That's good.
do the conditions and have the golf course playing the way they want it to play.
Yeah.
It seems like it makes sense to have the person that's been on site. Your golf course, like this golf course right here, it would it'd be almost impossible for somebody else to come in and tell you more about what you already that you know about the golf course. Maybe
Right.
the conditions they want it to play like.
Sure.
But to say, okay, I'm going to take over, and you're like, dude, you have no idea. Like it's going.
Well, that happens every day because every golfer has their different,
True.
different conditions they like to play.
that's
in.
true.
So how long have you been on this property here at Champion Circle?
It'll be 10 years in March.
Awesome.
Okay.
I come back from working with a different management company with Troon Golf. I was working over in Russia for 2 years, and our head agronomist at the time felt that my wife and daughter had not stayed the whole 2 years there. They didn't really enjoy Russia that much, so our head agronomist thought it was
Not
time
home
for me
winter.
to get me back home and close to my family. So this facility came open because the gentleman that was here, the superintendent, went out to the Rawls course out in Lubbock. So
Yeah.
I thought this was a good fit for me, and I've enjoyed it. There's been a lot of things I've seen change over the years.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good kind of lead into what I was talking about earlier, all the changes that we're doing now. So
Right.
we've talked about it on a previous episode, and if you've been out to our course this year, you know that we've done a lot of changes. We basically closed 2 holes, and you guys have built 2 brand new holes to take their place, redid the layout of the course. So I'll let you kind of talk on that a little bit, the challenges, or maybe I don't know what that process was like as far as, I mean, everything's different.
Right.
So,
Well, like I said, I've been here almost 10 years. The last 2 have been the most productive, and you kind of have to take that to when the purchase of this property from the O'Reilly
Right.
management company, and there again, you'd have to thank Tim O'Reilly with his foresight of seeing what this property could actually
Yeah.
develop into, with the big shots coming, the pavilion barn being built right next to us here, and so biggest change I've seen and biggest help is the fact that the O'Reilly company is willing to put money into the property.
Yeah.
I've gone from a 6-man crew to now I'm up to, counting myself, 12.
Yeah.
So just having the people available, we've been able to do a whole lot more. If we take the Big Shots project, when we had the groundbreaking ceremony last month, at that point it was kind of that we're going to lose those holes where the Big Shots are going to be. So we came in and ripped all the sprinklers out of the ground to save those for future use. We took main lines apart because they're all going to get rerouted when the Big Shots comes in. We had to take advantage of the green that was going to be plowed under for the parking lot, so we built a green up on the driving range, which we're calling the Academy, is what we label it as.
I like it.
So,
And thankful too.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we,
and what he's talking about there with Matt opening the academy, he's going to have the indoor facility.
Yep.
Early next year. He's got
Indoor,
the grass,
outdoor. Yep.
Yeah, grass range to hit off of, and then with the green that Brad and his crew put, we have a dedicated green just for the academy. We're going to have a bunker up there, so it's going to be. And you can kind of talk more on that. It's going to be your deal,
Yeah.
so everything you're going to be able to offer.
Yeah, so I got to watch Brad kind of start the project. I was at the range. Actually, I think I was practicing my short game at the other end, and I saw you on the backhoe just working that thing. The very first day you got on it, we just had a conversation. Next thing I know, he's on a backhoe, and he's got this thing plugged out. It didn't take very long, what, a day or so, or a day and a half.
Yeah.
You were working, grinding, though, and that was impressive. And then just watched it go through the process, and if you don't mind, once I get through this, maybe we'll come back to that and let you tell everybody.
Sure.
And I'd like to know as well the full process that you kind of went through, detailed process. But got to get to watch some of that happen, and then all of a sudden now they put the sod down. It's finished product now, and that's just making it healthy, getting it to grow together, and keeping it healthy, and then getting it ready for next year. And I can't wait. It's gonna be really cool when you can have an indoor-outdoor facility. Most people think indoor-outdoor facilities, if you live up north, you're going to probably think of more of that like wintertime. Really here, it's like we have some days where you can still play outside. Like, even today it's a little chilly. You can play. But it's really in the summer, the Texas heat. That's where it's going to be, the way our business works. We do golf schools, and a lot of golf schools, we're almost booked out completely right now for February, half of January. March will be booked out here very soon. But when we hit in the summer, we slow down, and a little bit because of the fact that if you're outside and you don't have cover and air conditioning, it can be a very, very, very difficult to take whether you take a 30-minute lesson or an hour lesson or you're doing a golf school. Golf schools are almost impossible in the middle of summer. But what I will say, when you have that shop, you can go out there in that heat and you're 70 degrees every day. You come out and you're covered. You're not going to have to worry about wind or anything like that. So, and I'll kind of leave it from there and run back. If you don't mind, if you just talk about the process of how you got all that going and how fast. That was incredible.
Very
how
fast.
quick.
We were kind of
believe
under
it.
the gun to make sure we got it done and installed before the tractors start showing up and plowing up the location for the big shots. But like the three of us were up there, we kind of mapped out the size of the green and what we wanted. So at that point, you have to dig out, in our terms, of kind of like a bathtub. You drop the surface down to what your bottom grade is going to be, and that was about 16 inches that we removed out of that location. And the bottom surface needs to mirror what eventually the grass is going to look like on top. So if you're going to have any undulations, that bottom surface has to match exactly what the finished grade is going to be. And after you get the shelled out, you need to put drainage in. So then we come back in with the trencher and we trench in a herringbone design drainage system to remove any water that percolates through the green. And we put the drain pipe in, 4 inches of gravel, and then we put the mix on, which is just the sand, peat type soil material. And fortunately, we were to get all that from the other green that we took the sod from also. So we initially went to the existing green, took all the sod off, and then started just removing all the mixed soil out of there and brought that, transported it over to the new location, filled that up 12 inches, and then finished with putting the sod back on top.
I was shocked, but I know Jesse and I talked about it, just how healthy the sod looked when it was put down. Like it stayed, out there, and it was just kind of insulated itself. It looked like, and it was strong.
Yeah, I think we haven't had that hard of a winter yet, or we're not even into winter yet. But I guess for the 10 years I've been here, we did have the earliest frost that I think we've ever had back in October, and it just took most of the color out of the golf course. Normally we get through almost all of November before we lose all of our color. But the greens tend to be a little bit warmer just because it's shorter grass and the soil underneath there is a little different than what you'd have out in your fairways. So the grass tends to stay healthy a little bit longer.
Yep.
I can tell you the greens look incredible right now. Everything's dormant around them. The greens are very green right now. They're playing really good, rolling good. So I will say I started, I believe it was in May is when I came on board here. And the course just all year just kept making improvement, just better and better. I mean, it was fine to start, but it just kept getting better and better. And anyone that hasn't played here in a while, especially now, I'm getting so many comments, and everybody comes in and talks about how good the course is. So I just want to make sure you know that. I try to tell you when I can, but sometimes I forget. Sure. We do. We hear that every day, and you do a tremendous job out on that course.
It is good to hear it. I know we had a rough spring. A lot of golf courses in the area. This environment is tough to come out of the winter sometimes, and I think another, plus that O'Reilly's helped us with is giving us more budget and more money, and we're able to get more of the things that we need to take care of the golf course better.
I think one thing that's going to be good, we talked about we did away with 2 holes. Obviously, we took one green and used it for the green for his academy. But now you have the other green, the old number 2, you can use as a nursery. So going into the spring, coming out of the winter, any bad spots, you'll have that, which you've never had, I'm guessing, before on this property.
That is a luxury to have an actual complete hole that if we need any sod off the fairways, we can take it. If we need any sod off of a tee, so we'll maintain that hole and keep it in shape all the time, but we'll use any of it that we need throughout the year. And so if we have any bad spots on the greens, we're able to just fix it right away and
get it healthy and go.
Definitely good.
Yeah, and then as I said, we changed the entire layout. That's been a process with the signage. I don't think a lot of people realize how much goes into that. When you change the layout, it's you don't just tell everybody and that's it. You have to get the scorecards redone. You have to get the signage on the course redone. You have to get the course re-rated, which is a process. You have to get on a waiting list, and a team has to come out and re-rate the course. Just this week, we had Sky Caddy come out to update the GPS. That's another deal. We had to get on a waiting list. It's just a huge process. There's so many steps people don't think about. So that's taken up a lot of time over the last few months, making sure we have all those things completed. And once we do have a little bit of a kind of a weird deal right now. When you come off of 16, we're rerouting people around the hotel because of the construction of the event barn that's going on next door. Once that's complete, we'll do away with that process and we'll be able to stay on the golf course. So it's been a busy summer for sure.
Definitely has. And I think the biggest challenge is for my guys to know that we've renumbered all the holes. They leave the shop and we say, okay, we're going to go to 3. And they said, now is that the old 3 or the new 3? So
I can tell you, I was only here probably 2 months before we made that change. And you think in 2 months I could make the change easy, but I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
So, and Matt, you've been off and on most of the summer. You've been here pretty well full time the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And you can I'm sure you've been able to see the changes on the court. I mean, we talk about it every day. We look at least every few days we go out and kind of look at it, and every time we go, it looks better and better and better.
Yeah, the playability of it from when I first got here, had a lot of bad weather, and I think all the superintendents, I don't know, I wasn't really around at that time. I just know that they all say the same thing. There was a lot of bad weather. It's different than when you're in Austin. There's a lot of differences and so forth. But as I got to watch these changes, the playability of the golf course started becoming a lot better over the course as the year got on. The greens got a lot better. He got more things, like he said, his budget. That makes a difference, man. I'm telling you. You can say it any way you want to say it. You don't have money, you're gonna have problems. And when they say when a company comes in and says, all right, we're gonna unlock this for you, you just tell us what you need. A guy like him that is expert, or it doesn't matter, it could be like a guy like Jesse, an expert, or whoever. They can do their job. When you handcuff them, especially with his job, your job. I mean, you get handcuffed with equipment. It could be your chemicals, your staff. He could go on and on and on around that. But they can't do their job, and you can't expect much out of them. But when they free that up, then they can go to work. And man, I watched it just change like drastically, and it's been a lot of fun. But the playabilities, that's what I see. That's when I go out, just from playing since I was 4 years old, my whole life, and competition like Jesse as well. I really am detailed as far as looking at how things are curving and cutting, and like what the heights are, and how it's really, if I'm playing, what's that going to feel like. And I can tell you where it's at right now, and it's what's crazy. It's kind of coming into the end of the year, but it's playing awesome. It's still playing great right now. It's an unbelievable job.
Yep, and I kind of going back to what you're talking about, if you're limited, you can't do much. And I think that's one good thing with O'Reilly since they've taken over. I think they understand what this course should be with all the improvements they're doing to the hotel and the renovations just throughout the property, the golf course. They want it to come up to match the level of everything else. And I've felt fortunate that I feel that they're on board.
Definitely.
Doing whatever we need to do, I mean, within reason. But they're going to give us the resources to do what we need to do, and the course is just going to continue to get better and better and better.
Yeah, the first drive around I had when Tim O'Reilly was here, and John Bigler and a couple of other people from the O'Reilly hub, first thing I told them is, you're going to need more water. I said, I've gone here, been here 8 years, and we'd never have enough water in the summer. Yeah. So the first thing they did is they drilled a $250,000 well for us right away.
Wow.
That's awesome commitment. Man. And then I said, we need covers for the greens if we want to protect them. And that was the first thing I said, get a PO together and let's get covers for the greens. So like we said, they're definitely committed to making this a good property. And like I said, he's got a good foresight on what his final look at this property wants to be. And
yeah.
It would look like a fish out of water if the golf course, what all they're doing with the hotel, and of course the big shots that's coming in and all that, and the golf course doesn't look right.
Right.
It would look like a fish out of water. Yeah. It just common sense, and I'm glad that, and they obviously have it, man. I know Tim, if you don't mind, I think Tim O'Reilly was here a few weeks back. We had a
groundbreaking ceremony, right.
And you were presented with an award that night. You want to talk about that a little bit? Or not? You don't want to?
Well, it's mainly just, kind of almost a pre-award for what's coming up, kind of. There's going to be a lot of issues pop up when they start building this big shots. So it was kind of like, we know you're going to be put under the gun, so
Yeah,
here's a little something to say thank you beforehand.
And he was just saying what a great job you've done.
Yeah, and you've done a lot. I mean, the 2 new holes that we had to open, and that was all in preparation for Big Shot. So you've done a lot already for that process, and I think that just you needed to be recognized. Now, I was glad to see that they did that.
Oh, I was
I
too.
did appreciate that.
Very cool.
And that was given to me, but I'm not the one out there doing all the work, so I got to always thank my staff and the guys. And I do have a couple really good guys that work with me, and they've got some good suggestions, and I'm always open to listen to other people's opinions.
One thing I will say about your staff. I'm probably going to get in trouble if someone get phone calls after this, but my previous courses, there's a lot of times I would go out and I'd see somebody pulled over in the shade on a mower and they'd be on their phone, and you could sneak up to them. They wouldn't even see it because they're not paying attention.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I bet you do. So, and with your staff, man, I never see them doing that. They're always working. They all know what they're supposed to be working on. That says something to your management style. But we do have an excellent staff out there. I mean, it's as far as these guys coming in, knowing what they need to do and getting the work done, it's one of the best I've seen. They do a great job.
Two things I see
workers.
is, one, I think the staff is awesome. It's very consistent. Everybody kind of has their own thing, their personalities, and it's fun. But I'd say the second to that is that I think that we're all kind of interconnected too. Everybody in the staff. I know a lot of guys on the back end, and you do, and we're all kind of we want to. The more you can interconnect your golf club, the better you're going to be. If the superintendent's right here and he's just going, I'm just doing this, and the golf pro says, no, I'm just doing this, and there's no really we don't have that.
Yeah.
No, we're connected, and I love it, man. I mean, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think we do have that good relationship, and I think that's key. I've been in the opposite situation where greenskeeper or superintendent myself barely spoke and never knew what was going on, and we're on 2 different pages all the time, and that can make it, first, things don't get done correctly, and second, it's miserable for both sides of that deal. So I think we don't have any issues there.
No, I don't think anybody's ego is too big. Like, I could ask a suggestion, and then he may say, well, you can't really do that, or it might be whatever. We can do that. It's a good idea, vice versa, or whatever. Right. But everybody's listening and not just yapping, Yeah.
And the next part is we've got to get you on the course. We got to get you playing golf a little bit next year.
He doesn't have time.
I need both you guys to make that happen.
No, guitars first now.
Well, I need a few good lessons in.
Well, we can handle that.
And I'll teach you guys how to mow a green.
I want to learn how to run the backhoe like you run the backhoe, which will that'll never happen. But I got to get on the backhoe like soon. Tear up something.
Please don't let him on the backhoe.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I want to get on the backhoe.
Yeah. So and then things down the road. Kind of going into the spring, what are some of the key things you're trying to focus on to make sure we come out of the winter in good shape and just basically start the year off running?
Yeah, well, I think something that we're doing this year, and again, it goes back to the budget and having enough money, is we're on a much stronger fungicide program. I've made a lot more applications this year than ever before, and again, if people are willing to spend the money, there's a whole lot more you can do. So I think we're going to be really protected coming into the spring, that our greens are going to bounce back and we'll start, hitting the ground running as the weather warms up, not being behind the 8 ball, trying to grow your greens back in. So, then it's just detail work. As long as you got the guys out there, we'll get the bunkers all edged up and cleaned up by the time we get into the spring. Make sure we got plenty of sand in the bunkers. Most of the other stuff is just a normal day-to-day routine, just mowing practices, doing the right thing, and mowing and as needed, just getting things done.
How would it work in the back end as far as like when you, I know a little bit about it from different facilities, but what's your process like, your meetings with the crew? Like, do y'all have I'm not sure how that comes out. Do y'all is everybody kind of got it figured out? Knows what days what?
No,
or do you have
pretty much
daily meetings?
Day to day they know, but I've got a board down there that I work off of. The guys kind of come in shifts. We have a set start time, but some guys like to come in a little bit early, and then they like to leave a little bit early. So those guys come in,
right.
We discuss what their job is for the day, and it basically changes every day too. I try to have a crew that everybody knows how to do everything.
Yep.
And reason being is, before, when I only had 6 guys, if I had 1 or 2 guys out, I'm relying on the other guys to know how to do all the other jobs. So I just think it's fair to everybody to kind of get a chance to do everything. So, but again, everything's written out on the board, and I always go through the why they're doing what they're doing, because I always like everybody to know why they're doing their job and what the purpose is and what benefits it has to the golf course. But I also like the guys to look at the board and see what everyone else is doing.
That's cool.
I always like, just for an example, if you're mowing tees, the guy who's supposed to be moving the markers, he realizes, well, we're mowing the tees, I'll take the markers off and the guy mowing will put them back on, as opposed to a normal day when you're not mowing tees, the guy moves them and puts them back on in the right location. So I just like everybody to see what everyone else is doing. So
Yeah. So everybody's
pay
on the
attention to what the other guys are doing out there on the golf course.
They're definitely on the same page, because the staff, because when I go this week, I haven't been able to go. I like to make the loop just because I think the golf course is beautiful and I love golf. It wouldn't matter where I'm at, but I just like to see what's happening and with golfers and everything else. And you see the staff's always on point. I'm like Jesse. I don't think I've ever been at a golf course that I can recall, and I've been on a lot of them where the staff is just they're on point. And they're all doing their job. They do their job. That's all I can say. And it shows.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm extremely excited about next year, about 2020. I think a lot of the stuff this year was making the changes, putting the things in place, and we had a good year. But to really set up next year, I think it's going to be from every aspect. We're going to have the new additions. We're going to have the new event barn, we'll call it, for the tournaments, to host the tournaments out of. You got your academy up there. We've got, if you haven't been out, our driving range is 400 yards. It's double-ended, so you got tees on both sides. We've got a huge practice area in the back, short game area, another putting green right here behind the clubhouse. The course is, as I said, it's getting better and better, and I expect it's going to be in great shape to kick off the year and maintain that shape throughout the year. We've got something for everybody. And once Big Shots comes, we're going to have that. So we're going to have anything anyone wants. If you know how to say golf, I don't care if you're trying to turn pro or if you're trying to just come out and
A beginner.
drink with your buddies and have fun. We're going to have something for you. And I think I just can't wait. I mean, I feel like momentum's going and the buzz is kind of starting to grow, and I think it's going to be a great year.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yep. I'm stoked, and so I can't wait to see what happens. I think as we're coming into the end of the season, it's even we've seen everything just start to peak its way on out to end the year, and the greens look. Of course, Brad could speak more on that if he wants, but I mean they are very healthy. They look strong. They are playing great right now. They're rolling just fantastic. I think by the time from what he's done and his staff has done, when they come into season next year, we're going to be in good shape. We'll just roll.
Yeah, and another thing, we're going to have fun out here. It's not going to be you're just going to walk in, pay green fee, and just kind of blah, atmosphere here. Once the event barn gets done, we're going to we're going to kind of move the clubhouse around, and we're going to have kind of a sports bar type area set up in here for everyone to enjoy before or after the round, hopefully. And then we're going to open the pro shop and make it a lot bigger. And we're just going to have fun. We're constantly going to be having events, and we may just throw random contests up on the weekend for you guys. We'll be doing all kinds of stuff. We're trying to do things that maybe other courses aren't doing, just things that we may think of it the day before and throw something together just to have games, just to have fun. Yeah. So we're really trying to make it a little bit different than the normal experience. The traditional golfer is still going to be able to come out and play golf the traditional way, but we're going to have a lot more fun. We got Robbie, he's sitting behind the camera. You can't see him, but he's our kind of social media marketing guy. And if you follow our Facebook page, yeah, he's shaking his head right now. But if you follow our Facebook page, he does a good job we'll constantly keep you guys updated through that page, through your YouTube page. You have a ton of people that watch that. It's the Elite Golf Performance if you're on YouTube. We have the Golf at Champion Circle, the of course Facebook page I just said, Instagram page. So constantly putting things on that, trying to keep you guys updated. And if you'll just check in on that every once in a while, you'll see we're going to continually put out material and updates on anything we have coming up. Keep you guys in the loop. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah. One final note on this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brad on my end. But if you see a crew out there, a lot of times when you play golf, and I have this experience, since I've played as a little kid, you kind of always see like the back end staff. People were like, golfers are too scared to talk to them, when they usually do, they're usually rude. Just remember, they're out here to help. Say hi to them. When you come out, have a good time. We want you to make sure, if they make a mistake, just talk to them logically, and it makes everybody's day go by a little bit better. And just remember, they're human beings. So just if you see them, wave at them, do all that but don't be scared of the crew or then when you finally talk to them, it's kind of a rude conversation,
Right.
Let them know that hey, man, we appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, a lot of times
Trust me,
they
they'll help you.
only hear from people if that person thinks something's wrong.
It's like
They
pissing
never
off a
hear-
referee.
Yeah, they
Very
never
smart.
hear from people that are happy.
Don't
I
piss
feel
off
like.
the referee.
Yeah. So, everybody, if you have a complaint, you're always going to say it. But if you have a compliment, a lot of people don't. So let these guys know, and that's not just here. That's anywhere you go. Let the guys know that they're doing a good job.
Yes.
You're being able to play golf because they're out in 110-degree weather working their
grinding.
tails off out there. So that's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah, they're grinding. And with that, I don't know, just final thoughts, Brad? What you...
Other than as you say, as you get older, time just seems to fly by, and this year went by like super fast. So then I reflect back. Well, now it's 10 years already.
If that's the case, Michael goes through a year every day.
Oh, gosh. Scary.
So
He's on our cart staff.
He's staring us down right now.
So other than that, it's been great 36 years, and got a lot more left in me, and I'm enjoying it here. There was a point when they let Troon Management go, and I had to make a decision if I wanted to leave and stick with Troon Management, who I had been with 18 years, or stay here at this property. And it was kind of a no-brainer with the things that are going on here and what's coming down the road. This is where I wanted to be. So it was easy decision. And I'm glad I'm here, and I'm like Jesse said, and you guys, we've got a good team here. I think it's going to just make it more enjoyable. So
Yeah.
looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're going to have fun. So if you guys, I'm good if you
Yeah,
have
I'm
nothing
talking
else.
out.
So
I'm just thankful
so-
for your service, man. It's awesome
Yeah,
to watch.
absolutely.
man.
We're definitely glad you're here. And guys, again, if you see Brad, his crew, tell them thanks.
Give them a thumbs up.
Definitely appreciate everything they do. Looking forward to a great year. Not that the winter don't exist. We're going to have a lot of good days. So we're going to be
Come
out
on out
here.
and play.
Yeah, we're going to be out. We're here every day. So come see us. Look at the new changes. The course is in tremendous shape, as we said. The greens are as good as they've been all year. And that's not going to change. So come out and see us. Golf Club at Champion Circle. Brad, appreciate you talking to
you,
us.
Jesse.
Yeah.
Matt. All right. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
That's a wrap.